because they're hard to find otherwise.
Yeah, I'm sure these guys can more than manage though, Rob. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. We're going to be going into game number 2 of this pretty awesome PvP here. StarTale.Squirtle going up against Invictus Gaming. XY.
So on Daybreak, we saw XY get within a stone's throw of what could have been a crushing victory. Like he was so close to being able to win. Really quick though to get these players introduced. Upper left corner, Invictus Gaming XY. He's a blue Terran here.
That's right. And he's going to be playing against a pretty sick Korean Protoss, winning that first game after that unbelievably good engagement at the end of the game. Representing Team StarTale, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Squirtle. And Rob, I want to talk about that last game just for a second.
Which part would you like to talk about?
I want to talk about the end of that last game, because we saw XY go in, pick off all the Colossi, pick off Squirtle's third, and do a decent amount of damage with the drop in the main.
He played so stellar. He played so stellar.
And it was great. And then in that final engagement, he was distracted by Squirtle's Zealots moving straight past his fourth base, going into the natural, for literally about a second and a half. And in that second and a half, Squirtle went, well, I have my Zealots in front, I see where your army is, I'm just going to walk into you and have the world's most favorable engagement. And XY was caught completely unaware. Was it a big mistake? Undoubtedly it was a big mistake, because it might have cost it did cost XY the game. But I just want people to give XY props where it counts, where up to that point, for most of that game, he actually outplayed Squirtle in the sense that he managed to pick his small engagements well. He did really good multitasking. And someone who's really good at managing a couple of conflicts at once, multitasking, is good at micro, okay? Because they have to do that in several locations at once. So it's not like Squirtle completely out-microed him and he's terrible at micro. It's not like that at all. It's just XY was caught completely off guard. He simply wasn't microing for a second and a half, 2 seconds at the start of that engagement. And that's what cost him the game. It's not that he can't do it. And I hope that he's gone away and he's thought about that and he realizes that it's not because he's not capable, but it's just because he got caught off guard. And for that reason, I just want to see him continue playing straight up in game number 2. But we actually see him doing things a little bit differently already. He's actually gone for that refinery, so he's not going to be going for one rack expand this time.
Well, we'll see what that ends up amounting to soon enough. Now, if only he had controlled that army just a little bit, just a modicum of control.
If you put equal control on Squirtle and XY in that last engagement, XY would still be like, maybe he wouldn't have won the game or anything, but he'd still be ahead. He was doing well in that game. That's all I'm trying to say. And but Squirtle, credit to him as well. He seized the opportunity perfectly. It's not like he engaged the army and didn't know that his Zealots were going into the natural. He deliberately wanted to distract his opponent, and maybe it doesn't work every time, but it certainly worked there. So credit to him for realizing what was going on and picking that engagement as well.
Wow. Super fast concussive shell in that first Marauder. I mean, is this called a Marauder expand?
It would be, yeah. Like you can normally see builds. You used to see a lot of 2 racks opener builds where you get really quick concussive shell to try and punish a fast expanding Protoss or something like that. The way the meta game was like a little while ago. But for now, I think XY just wants to get a little bit of map control. He's going to have his Marauders maybe move out to the Watchtowers once he gets a second one, for example.
Now, this
is just a variation on one rack's expand where it's a little bit of a slower expansion because you got those SCVs on gaps, but you get that concussive shell early and you stop the Protoss from getting map awareness, and that's pretty good.
Well, and also what you do is as soon as that Stalker gets in range, you can actually just kill it.
Yep.
Like this Stalker actually should not escape here. Now, he does have to kill the Stalker for this upgrade to be worth it. Now, is he going to be able to micro away? Oh, very nice micro on the Marauder. Controlling beautifully to take down both the Stalker and the Zealot there. The Marauder could have been sneezed on. Oh, and it is sneezed on by another Stalker. Now, he doesn't have the second Marauder out in play yet, so he could not get revenge on the other Stalker that was there.
That's a ninja Stalker, man. He came in, shot once, and turned around before the Marauder was dead.
Well, before
cool guys don't look at explosions, man. That guy was amazing.
No, because only cool guys walk away as the explosion happens behind them.
Exactly, and that's totally what that Stalker just did. So, really nice there from XY, though, picking off that initial Stalker and Zealot. That's going to annoy Squirtle to no end. He's now going up to 3 gateways and a robotics facility, and he's grabbing his Nexus as well, about to complete. So things looking fairly bread and butter as far as our Protoss is concerned. XY mixing things up as far as order goes. And once again,
we're going to see an enormous bio push over here. We have two of the barracks in XY's base are currently building reactors. Many Marines.
Well, they're a pretty good unit from what I heard. And yeah, I think that's entirely possible from XY. I mean, he just completed his natural expansion, so one route he might choose to take out of here. Nice raising of the depots there to prevent the probe getting in. That sadly is not going to be getting out of there.
Okay, there I was like, he's not using the reactors. But now he is.
No, he will be. He wants to make sure he gets some minerals onto the SCVs at the natural expansion. He doesn't want nothing to be mining there, because otherwise you just can't keep up non-stop production if you're not too careful.
Saturation. And he fixes it right now. Okay, bringing out, Maynarding some of his SCVs out into that natural. Now,
and he also want to get a little bit of gas as well, because he needs to make sure he has enough to start making those medevacs and those Vikings and just keep up that constant production, especially if he wants to go a bit more Marauder heavy in his composition later on as well.
Now, hitting this small bit of a supply block where he's not able to just keep building more Marines. He had actually paused for a significant chunk of time over there. You want to have as many Marines out as possible. I mean, I can only imagine when that starport finishes, right? Because he's going to use the starport to take at least one of the reactors. Oh, no, he's using the factory to make a reactor instead. Starport will be able to double pump Vikings and medevacs.
Yeah, it's just a really nice, efficient build. It's one of those builds that's been quite well thought out, where you get exactly the amount of production you know you can constantly build. So XY's not doing anything super fancy, he's just making sure, right, well, I have enough income to constantly produce SCVs, to produce Marines out of 2 reacted barracks, and also I can do stuff with the one at the Tech Lab as well, and anything extra goes into stuff with the starport. So it's just a really bog standard but well executed macro build so far, coming from super solid, and he's now going to be moving out across the map.
Yeah, this is actually just a really very big push. I don't think that he has any intention of this game going on much longer. Well, he would love to kill Squirtle with one big push. You want to hit before you see the Colossus out in play.
The problem is, though, Squirtle does actually know it's coming, man.
Yeah.
Like, that Observer saw everything in the main and natural, and sees the initial scouting unit as well, that poor Marine getting taken out there, and it looks like XY is going to opt to go for the destructible rocks. Squirtle does actually see this taking place. He will be able to stall for a bit of time. Extended Thermal Lance is only about a quarter of the way complete, though.
And he's only going to have a single Colossus out here to deal with it, but that may very well be enough. There are not as many units out here as XY would need to break through this. The force fields are going to be able to push out at least half of the army.
Oh, and it looks like XY going to try and attack in 2 places at once. Squirtle putting some preemptive force fields down on the ramp into the natural, but the third base location is under siege from XY. That's scouting.
Oh, wow. So as XY lifts off, Squirtle already sees everything. He has the Observer in a perfect position here. And he does start to try to move up the right side of the base. Oh, if he had only waited just a couple more seconds, just let that medevac get a little bit closer, you can totally snipe it.
So close. Meanwhile, back in his main base, we see +1 armor being researched to XY as well. He's not actually slacking as far as production goes. He's continuing to macro up. We have 2 Vikings at a time coming out now, trying to anticipate additional Colossi coming out from Squirtle, which is great. But Squirtle is soon going to have extended Thermal Lance complete. And that really is sigh of relief moment for Protoss, where it's like, well, it's going to be that much harder for you to stim in and pick off my Colossi now. But at the same time, of course, XY going to be going for that Viking production now as well.
Yes, he is. He is moving up to his 3rd and 4th Vikings currently. Now Squirtle does just about have his 1-1 finished up. Meanwhile, XY just about to finish that 1 armor to join his +1 attack on his ground units. And, oh man, a 3rd Colossus is going to be joining the party. XY's window of opportunity has kind of disappeared a little bit. Behind that, he did go for his 3rd base. Now,
that's right.
Squirtle was like so prepared.
I actually really like this. I really like this decision from XY. He's saying to Squirtle, "Look, I'm going to soft contain you.
I'm going to give you units."
Oh, very, very nice. Yeah, he is going to give him units. He tried to focus down a sentry there, but unable to do so. And he just went, "Well, I'm going to attempt to soft contain you here." Which doesn't look like it's going to work for too much longer, because he's actually hightailing at home at the moment, and just take my 3rd at the same time and be nice, calm, and collected about it. He was producing SCVs 2 at a time again, and will soon be producing them 3 at a time, of course, and just wants to make sure he has just enough minerals and gas to sustain this in the long run. Squirtle, though, as soon as he sees the army moving out, he's going to be taking his own 3rd. His Twilight Council is now complete, and he's actually about 3/4 of the way through Zealot Charge. So he's going to be going for, presumably, Charger Archon-centric sort of composition a little bit later on in this matchup.
I think Squirtle's feeling real comfy right now, right? Like, XY cannot break through him.
Yeah, unlike in Game 1.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, currently, right? Like, XY doesn't have as much opportunity this game to pull him apart and distract Squirtle. The big thing was having the drop that happened in the main and having the Vikings that killed all of the Colossi. Like, that's the huge turning point.
And none of that's happened this game.
And it's likely, it's not terribly likely to.
So we're basically in a situation where it's a bit like Game 1, guys, but what's happened is Squirtle hasn't accidentally gone and lost a couple of units. XY hasn't sniped off a base or anything like that. And Squirtle is being allowed to go up to 3 base and do his own thing. XY did have a soft contain up for a little bit, but Squirtle, with some excellent force fields, chipping away at a corner of that army, and that was enough for XY to go, well, hang on a second, I'm not sure I can sustain this, moved back home, and that's just given Squirtle the time he's needed to go up to what is beginning to look like a pretty scary death bowl here, to be honest. We have a decent amount of force fields here. Archons are being morphed in. A lot of splash damage and charge lots as well with this army composition to be able to do so well against those Buyer units.
So XY is getting ready for his big push over here, moving in a lot of those SCVs with him as well. Oh, XY using the Vikings to see if he can just get a quick snipe onto one of the Colossi. But instead, he's going to get the rest of the army in there with him. Now, these Zealots are going to be able to close the gap just so very quickly.
God.
He wants to get the Archons and the Stalkers out in front so that he can try to take down
at
least a few of those Vikings. Oh, yes, the Vikings are just so far away. The Archons are going to be unable to connect with them. And the SCVs are taking a significant amount of the damage, working as a shield, as they so very should. But now the Zealots are able to close in. We have the force fields being landed in the back, and the Zealots are chopping XY's army to pieces. All of the Colossi have fallen, but XY just doesn't have enough left to deal with it.
There were just too many charge lots. Squirtle lost every single Colossus there. XY had his Vikings in what I would consider to be an absolute dream position there. He did so well picking those apart. But then he wasn't moving forward with the rest of his army together, and that allowed Squirtle to get some excellent force fields up on the ramp into the natural and zone out about half of those Buyer units and let the charge lots do what they do best.
Oh, man, and XY caught unawares out in the center of the map as Squirtle marches across, just losing his very valuable and deteriorating army. Squirtle takes it 2-0.
Oh, my goodness. I'm crying Terran tears right now, Rob. I'm going to be honest. XY, that was a 2-0 to Squirtle.